Hey guys, welcome back to Don't Limit God. I am Joseph, your host, and today my guest is Kathryn Smith. She's been working in web design, social media, marketing for over 10 years. Listen, she specializes in women and minorities, and so today we're going to talk about as a new business owner or even someone that has an established business, how can you grow your business, the hurdles that you come across when starting a business, and better preparation. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Well, give your own introduction. I think you can do a better job.
My introduction's kind of corporate, but yeah, sure. So my name is Kathryn Smith. I'm the founder of Walton Birch, based outside of Atlanta, Georgia, and the co-founder of Black Lady Business School. Yes, I am an e-commerce consultant, so that means I work on websites, basically any kind of website that has a payment gateway, and I help entrepreneurs and small businesses launch and grow online, and also just, yeah, like you said, Joseph, just a emphasis on women and minorities or people that just feel like they don't have options when it comes to help growing their business. So those are the people that I like to work with the most. But I am open to working with any types of businesses. Yes.
Okay, so we're going to start it off with God, love, and truth are universal,
Okay.
but the specifics of God, love, and truth are not. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's a really interesting thought. And that was one of the first things, like I was just, thinking over as I was listening to a couple of episodes of your podcast and, like thinking about universal versus specific, it's, I could talk about it all day. I could think about it all day. But the universal, I think, is really helpful for people that just kind of feel invisible and feel lost out here. And the universal, or that bigger picture is important, as important, or maybe even more important than the specific. So sometimes you're like, I have these big dreams. I have this plan of where I see myself in the universe, and I'm not sure how to get there. So I don't know what those specifics look like. So having that connection between the universal and the specific, I think, helps with big plans and helps you to kind of see yourself in the grand scheme of the universe and kind of just going with the flow of how things in the universe kind of go. But also, being open to the fact that those specifics are sometimes not known until you just kind of stumble upon them. So, and that's been my experience as well. So I don't know if that really answered your question, but that's what I was thinking of when you were saying that.
Well, no, it's fine. I think that uh, it's an umbrella, right? I think there are many things that can go inside of that. Um, so, entrepreneurship, how did you get into that, or at least business schooling and helping businesses grow? How did you come into that field?
That's a great question. And I tell people I actually kind of stumbled into entrepreneurship. It wasn't necessarily my plan. I started out as a web designer back in 2009, kind of as a side hustle to a job that I had. I had an internship as a web designer, but I wasn't making any kind of money as an intern. So I kind of launched out on my own and started like building websites for local businesses in exchange for like food and bar tabs and things like that. So it wasn't, it's like a full-time business. And that was my first kind of venture into entrepreneurship. But finding and, keeping clients was just a struggle and a hustle, in addition to my full-time job. So I was like, I don't really like this. I really just need to, move up in corporate America and move up the ladder and make more money that way. And so I did. For the next 8 years, I actually moved through different jobs within corporate America and went back to school to get my MBA so that I could continue moving up through corporate America. But then I got sick, and like corporate America just became undoable in a state where you just can't bring your 100% A game to work every day. It just
Right.
becomes impossible to perform well. And so I took what I thought was a temporary break from corporate America. And I said, okay, well, I'll go back to entrepreneurship. I'll go back to what I know. I have this MBA now. I can start my own business. It'll be fine. It'll be temporary. And then 6 months later, COVID hit. So I had to make the decision at that point to either give up on entrepreneurship and try to get back into the job market, even not being at 100% from a health perspective, or double down on entrepreneurship. And so I know that consistency is the key, and it was going to be one or the other. There wasn't going to be a both. And so I doubled down on entrepreneurship just because I wasn't 100% from a health perspective. And things have really gone really well. And I think it was just a matter of the right timing, because I was able to help a lot of people get through, that the initial stages of COVID and those business shutdowns and getting them online and starting them with websites and whatnot. And if I would say for maybe the first 2 years, at least once a week, I was like, oh, I should quit this and go back to corporate America. I can't do this. This is so stressful. This is so much work. I don't have anybody to help me. This is so stressful. But going into my third year, I don't know at what point things changed, but going into my third year, I feel like this feels like a rerun. I feel like we've kind of been there, done that a lot in business, and entrepreneurship is definitely for me. I like being my own boss. I like making my own hours. I really like helping other people. I like helping businesses that didn't think that they could be successful, kind of bootstrapping it to see success in business. And that fulfillment just makes entrepreneurship 100% worth it for me. So it's gotten a lot better. But yeah, that was my journey.
Okay. Well, so I have a similar experience.
Yeah.
And I guess my question, well, I'll tell you my experience and I'll ask you the question.
Okay.
So for me, I was a personal trainer. And while I loved the relationships I had with people, I didn't love training. And so I found it difficult. Well, I didn't love training or selling. And it wasn't that I couldn't do them. It was just exhausting for me.
Right.
And so I found myself in a spot to where, like you said, I couldn't bring my whole self there. And it was, do I really want to be here? If I'm not here, what's the next step for me?
Right.
And really, the idea is to help people, empower people. And so what does that look like for me specifically going forward? And so do you think that for a lot of entrepreneurs or people looking to, at least with the entrepreneurial mindset, so to say, is it something like that where they're not completely fulfilled in one area?
That's a good question. So I do think that there are people who are natural entrepreneurs, and they can be entrepreneurs in the I have my own business sense, or they can be entrepreneurial in other environments. Because I've definitely seen people who would excel at entrepreneurship be perfectly happy in corporate America. Okay. But I think that whatever environment you're in, you do the best when you feel supported, when you feel passionate about what you're doing. So, people who have an entrepreneurial kind of spirit, if that spirit is cultivated and rewarded in corporate America, and you get promoted and, you move up and you kind of create your own projects, and people are totally cool with that. I can see that working. You could still be entrepreneurial and still work in a structured environment, with a business or within corporate America. Or you could have not an entrepreneurial bone in your body, and still be successful in entrepreneurship. And actually, Black Lady Business School is going to talk about this next month with franchising. So franchising is an entrepreneurship model where you don't necessarily have to have 100% entrepreneurial spirit. You don't have to work in your business. You really just have to kind of be organized and have an understanding of operations and maybe some capital to lend to the business. So I think that entrepreneurship is not necessarily a personality trait. There is an entrepreneurial spirit and there is entrepreneurship, but there's a lot of overlap and they're not necessarily mutually exclusive. Yeah. I don't know if I answered that, but yeah, I think that, it helps if you have, this kind of get up and go and the motivation and self-governance to kind of do to launch out on your own thing, but not everybody wants that. And I understand, I definitely miss the structure of corporate America sometimes, and just having so many people around to work on projects. Like that was, just having resources is something that I definitely miss. But I also more than I miss those things, I enjoy kind of being able to pick my own projects and not having to worry about basically respectability politics, because that is a strange thing of corporate America that is like so pervasive. But yeah, so for entrepreneurship, I won't say that it is for anyone. Like you really have to want to be an entrepreneur to go into just like full-time entrepreneurship. But there are different ways that looks, if that makes sense. You don't have to be like this bootstrap, start from nothing, work in the business, make something type of person. You can be a franchisee that has a 9 to 5 job, but also owns several franchises that, are run by like a general manager. Or, you can otherwise kind of run a business from a distance, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So with last September being what people call the Great Resignation, um, have you seen an increase in people starting their own business, or was it just something of going to a job or a career that just felt more rewarding?
Yeah, I think not even just since last September, since like the March, the when the pandemic just got really, really bad, because
Hmm.
companies started kind of furloughing people. And a furlough is a really strange situation where you're just kind of like in limbo and you're not really sure what's gonna happen. But most of the people that I know, especially women and women of color that were furloughed, did not end up going back to that job, whether that job was eliminated or they moved into a different position. So I think that resignation or that, leaving or that shuffling of the workforce has been happening even since before September. But yes, definitely, once the pandemic picked up, I saw a lot of people kind of getting into either side hustles or launching full time into entrepreneurship. And they say that during a recession is the best time to launch a business. And I know that sounds really counterintuitive, but like there are a couple of reasons why it's good. Like, hey, nobody's asking questions. Like nobody's like, hey, so what have you been like? What has your work experience been for the past 5? Nobody asks those types of things. But also, programs like the Idle and the PPP, and then there are other programs, not just those two programs that provide assistance during those kind of economic depression times. And granted, there's still kind of obstacles to getting that support, but the fact that like they don't really ask any questions during their time, the stringent kind of lending guidelines are relaxed in times of economic depression. And so, if your business is a startup, like so, even 6 months into business, I qualified for some of the CARES Act funding, which was essential for keeping my business open during that first year. But yeah, so I saw lots of people leaving the workforce to either take on full-time jobs just to kind of make ends meet until the next
Hmm.
opportunity kind of came along. But also people that just said, listen, like this uncertainty is a lot. Like I really just don't want to do it anymore. I need, if I'm not going to keep a job, like for more than a year or two, then entrepreneurship can't be that risky. Like when entrepreneurship is not risky, like
Yeah.
when people are like, how bad could it be? Like the workforce is really doing something crazy.
Right.
So I think there are a lot of reasons that people are considering entrepreneurship, and people have good ideas, and the markets for people of color and women of color and other kind of marginalized and historically underrepresented or groups are still being underserved by kind of mainstream media and products. And so there are people out here that are coming up with their own. I saw a hoodie that had like a silk bonnet on the inside, and I was like, that is for me. Like, there are people out here with great ideas, and so I
Yeah.
think they're entering entrepreneurship for lots of different reasons. But yeah, uncertainty and just the things that kind of come along with the job market right now are definitely driving people to do that in larger numbers for sure.
Okay. Well, so going into entrepreneurship, so if you have an idea for a business or you want to franchise, what would be, I would say, the starter's advice of doing that?
So I think it kind of depends on the type of personality that you have. I would not necessarily recommend people just kind of launch into business the way that I launched into business, especially directly coming out of like less than a year out of corporate America, going directly into entrepreneurship, because there is kind of a transition period. So actually, I take that back. So yes, there are just different things that you have to kind of take care of as you make that transition. So one of the things that would have helped me is another kind of full-time entrepreneur, coach or mentor or somebody to help me with the transition. So when I'm like, I'm really lonely and there's nobody to talk to, to say, hey, here's how I overcame those things. Or basically like, it's in January, like 100% of my paperwork and licenses and all of this other stuff is due. And that is a lot. Like, that's a lot to keep up with. How do you manage those types of things? So, just somebody to walk you through those that first year, those firsts in entrepreneurship, or the things that you really just didn't expect, like being the CEO and the CMO and the intern and the administrative assistant and the, the receptionist, like being all of those people for the business. So definitely prepare yourself for that. So if you're a person that's going directly from like a corporate job into entrepreneurship, into a service-based business specifically, just like a mentor, coach, or accountability partner to help with that transition, because there are definitely unexpected things that kind of go along with that. If you are going into entrepreneurship, not necessarily with an idea, like if you have like a vague idea of a thing that you make or create or want to build, I would definitely consider getting a business partner. Somebody that complements your talent and skill and ability. And there are a lot of different business partner type relationships. So I didn't start Walton Birch with a business partner, but I did start Black Lady Business School with a business partner. And the difference was just night and day. So really just having another person there to help drive the organization forward and bounce ideas off of, and, just get together and talk about the business on a regular basis was super helpful. So I definitely say consider a mentor, coach, business partner, accountability partner, someone that can help you make it through that first period of entrepreneurship. Would be definitely one of the more important things to consider into going into entrepreneurship. And I think like coaches and whatnot can help with ideas too. So if you're going into entrepreneurship with an idea, but not necessarily certain about execution, I definitely think expert help is probably good there. So to the extent that you can, like, find the communities, find the people that can help you realize that idea.
For sure. So,
yeah. I know I kind of rambled. I don't think I actually answered the question.
So essentially, right, guys, don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to seek help, seek support.
Right. Right.
You don't have all the answers. No one has all the answers.
Yes. Thank you for summarizing that. That's what I meant. Yes.
Yeah. That. So you do work with e-commerce. And social media. So how important, and I know it depends on the business, but how important is social media to promoting and establishing business or following?
I think generally just promoting yourself and your business online are super important. Social media, like people have different feelings around social media. And I noticed that sometimes, so social media isn't the direct line that I think a lot of people think it is. So I think people think, hey, if I post this online, people will go to my store and buy things. And it's not a straight line. It's not a straight line. And I tell that to my clients all the time, the ones that invest heavily in social media. So I say the goal for being present on social media and putting information out there on social media is not they will see me, they will buy it. Like that only happens about like 2% of the time. Right. Especially when you're getting started. I think there's like a tipping point when you have like 50,000 followers where you can just drop something and people are like, oh my God, I want to buy it. But when you have 500 followers, y'all are in a community. Mm-hmm. Y'all are having a conversation. You're not selling things to them. You're really just introducing them to your brand and telling them about who you are and, what the brand is. And And so I think that being on social media, especially as you're getting started in business, is not like a one-to-one relationship. And it's really important to understand that. But I think the benefit of being on social media is that it provides what I call Google ability. So when people are searching for you online, something is showing up, something that tells people about who you are and what your business is about. It's a way to kind of find your community. I feel like everybody has a community out there, and sometimes it's hard to find them in person, but social media makes that a lot easier. So if you kind of approach social media as your community, your people, your potential supporters, and not only your potential clients or customers, then it makes it a lot easier to show up, number one, and it makes it a lot more fulfilling to show up. But I don't think that social media is the be all and end all of promoting a new business. I think podcasts are an excellent way to promote a business. Like randomly articles, being on panels, doing local workshops for me because I'm a consultant. So I teach people things as well. So there are lots of other ways to show up that aren't necessarily social media that are still online. So I say yes to showing up online. No, I don't think social media is the only way of doing that, but I do think social media is a really good way to get super connected with your community, and then to get supporters. So people that you don't even know will be like, yes, girl, I love this post. I hear this today. And you're like, I've never met you, but thank you.
Yeah.
So I think it can be that. And if you just don't, if you don't get married to the metrics, if you're not just thinking, okay, I need to get more followers, I need to get more people to click on that link, then you won't totally stress yourself out in social media. So yes, it is important. Being online is super important. Having social media is important for establishing a brand and being online. Do not get too stressed out about social media for growing your business, because it will burn you out very quickly, for sure.
Yes, understood. And then, so what are the common challenges or barriers that people face when starting their business? Or I would say even some established businesses also.
I think for women and people of color, underrepresented groups, definitely the challenges are kind of ongoing. So definitely finding capital is a challenge for a lot of businesses. Not everybody, was, saved up a 401k or an IRA or stacked some cash, before they went into entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurs are frequently spoken about as entrepreneurs by choice and entrepreneurs kind of by chance. And so entrepreneurs by choice are the ones that are like, hey, my family has $10 million to spare. Why not? Or those people that stack that money up, while they're working a full-time job, or people that do a side hustle while they're still working a full-time job. They are doing this intentionally. They have kind of a backup net, support, or an established support group. There's a structure there. And then there are people that are like, well, I just, I was disabled in an accident at work and now I can't work, but I still need to make money. I need to figure out how to do this myself. Or, my mother or son or, husband or, somebody is sick and I'm responsible for taking care of them. But that means I also can't have a full-time job. I need to figure out how to bring money into the household. Excuse me. And so there are lots of different ways that people enter into entrepreneurship. And I think that the obstacles vary based on how you entered into entrepreneurship. But for women and people of color, I think frequently the obstacle is capital, having capital, coming into the situation with capital, and also raising capital, not just from actual cash or investors, but also just financing, business financing. And I think, unfortunately, there are a lot of people out here that are kind of predatory to new businesses. And I think that, and the big banks also are just, algorithms are not very friendly to women and people of color. So it's difficult to kind of think about okay, how do I get good funding and good rates for my business? So I think capital continues to be a challenge for small businesses run by minorities and women. And in addition to, having resources, having access to experts that can help you, having access to business partners, having access to those partnerships that will allow you to get things at economy of scale. So in product businesses, it's very important to get your your resources at low cost so that you can offer things at a reasonable price. And so challenges like that, just uncovering those resources, as a part of doing business, are just continuing challenges especially for women and people of color. And so I think that, there will be challenges for anybody in business. Like, the economy is always the challenge, consumer trends and consumer kind of, I say fickleness because it's just like 1 minute something is hot and then 1 minute it is not. So like we will always be kind of subject to the whims of consumers. But I think compounding that or adding on to that are those additional challenges with resources and access to capital and expertise as well for women and minorities.
Okay, well, so and then to overcome the challenges and barriers, are there some resources that you can mention offhand that would be beneficial for?
Sure. I'll just talk from my experience. So there's a program of the SBA called SCORE, and that SCORE provides free mentors. And when they said free mentors, I was like, okay, yeah, cool. Somebody's gonna hand me some worksheets and check in with me once every 6 months. But
Right.
I had a SCORE mentor that I literally talked to every month for the full first year of business. Yeah, and so like whenever I would just go in a different direction, I'd be like, I think we need to offer this, and she'd be like, girl, what did we write down? Like, do you have a business plan? Are we doing this? So, and it was completely free. And she was an expert. Like, she worked in academia. She had this expansive experience. She had started several businesses herself. So these aren't just like Joe Schmo off of the street. These are people that are highly qualified and have been in business themselves. So I think the SCORE program, so that's SCORE, and it is an acronym that I don't know what stands for right now, but score.org is a great resource for that. And then just local organizations. So there are a lot of organizations out there that are providing resources, but also support and visibility for, women and minority entrepreneurs. And so like we started Black Lady Business School to provide that in Atlanta, but there are tons of organizations in Atlanta and around the US that do those types of things as well. One of the things that I actually found out one of my new clients didn't know about was the local chamber of commerce and the district commissioners. So I live in a county where there are 4 commissioners and a chair of the board of commissioners, but 2 of the commissioners and the chair of the board of commissioners are Black women. So when it came to doing a grand opening for her business, I was like, have you emailed your commissioner? And she was like, no, why would I do that? And I was like, why wouldn't you do that? So I think people will be surprised at, ways that they are supported by their local organization. So find your local chamber of commerce or your local Black chamber of commerce. Find out who your commissioners are. Invite them to your ribbon cutting if you have a brick and mortar location, or reach out to them and find out what resources are available in your local area. And so I think that like a lot of people just don't know about that. And so I think she didn't even know, she didn't know that there were that many Black women in her local chamber of government, period. And I was like, yes, there are people out here that can help and support you. So first, reach out to your community, find those organizations in your community, because they're good ways to connect with the community and get support. So she was struggling with some not necessarily zoning issues. I guess the fire marshal, like all the inspections that you have to do before you get a brick and mortar place open. And so she had a lot of dealings with the government and the fire marshal. Having somebody that can say, hey, talk to this person, or hey, have a meeting with this person, can make that process go a lot smoother. So definitely reaching out to those local community resources as well, because that's free. Sending an email is free. You don't necessarily have to, spend a lot of money to do that. And then like directories. So in Atlanta, we have Buy From a Black Woman. And it's just literally a directory of Black women-owned businesses. And like they're growing, they're gaining traction right now. But it's still affordable to be listed in the directory. And I've had so many clients that have products in the directory that have gotten customers and clients and partnerships from those directories as well. So find those opportunities where people are aggregating resources, and then just be seen among a group of, colleagues and peers and whatnot. So I think there are a lot of opportunities kind of out there, but those would be 3 of them. So SCORE program, your local government, your commissioners, your chambers of commerce or Black chambers of commerce, and then also directories. So directories for women-owned businesses, directories for Black women-owned businesses, like the Buy from a Black Woman directory, which like, not sponsored. I'm just a big fan of.
Word of mouth,
So
guys. Word of mouth. That's how you get it.
yeah, yep,
So again, do not be alone. Do not go at it alone.
definitely. That's the
Resources,
message.
support.
That's That's the message that people think, our community won't support us, but they will. Like, our community will support us. And I think visibility is a big challenge in that. And that's what we started Black Lady Business School to do. We're literally trying to, connect the community to these Black women-owned businesses in the community. So part of that is saying, like, how do we literally yell from the mountaintops, like, hey, these businesses exist. Here's how you can support them. And so, yeah, that's what I'm doing from an e-commerce perspective, is like helping people to get started online and help people to grow their websites. I'm not just going to build you a website. I'm going to help attract traffic to that website as well. Whether that's through social media or through email marketing or through, finding opportunities for you to be listed in directories or show up on podcasts and things like that. But like, it's the whole picture. It's not just the building the store. And that's why I call myself an e-commerce consultant, because it's the whole process of getting started online as well. So there are definitely people out here to help. I am one of those people. I would be happy to share any resources that I do have. So, yeah, like don't go it alone. You don't have to. Yeah.
Sure. So with Black Lady Business School, is that just in the, I guess, Atlanta area?
Yeah, so we're just starting in Atlanta, and that's just because, like, Atlanta's a huge city. We could build an entire organization just here. But as we like kind of build this organization, we're thinking about like, how can we take this model to other cities as well? So I don't know what the future of that looks like, but I am being mindful that like Atlanta's not the only city where there are a concentration of Black women, and Black women are entering entrepreneurship in really high numbers across the world, across the country. And so for Black Lady Business School, we do have online programming. Most of our programming is online, but a lot of what we do to kind of connect the community to businesses is in person or will be in person. So we're not excluding people that are not in Atlanta. It's just a lot of our in-person opportunities are Atlanta based. So.
Okay. And so you say you have online courses. What are those pertaining to?
So right now we're doing like live workshops. We're working on our on-demand content, but our live workshops are primarily around marketing, just because both of us co-founders are experts in marketing. So I do DIY marketing. I do how to get started with your website, like how to connect a custom domain, things like that. And my co-founder does things in social media, like social media is her lane. So how to promote your business online, how to create campaigns, how to measure and monitor success online. Also, that's some things that we're looking at, like don't tell anybody, on the horizon, when to incorporate as an LLC, how to incorporate as an LLC. We actually are working with a local attorney on that, on like an LLC fair, to get people kind of connected that way. And then of course we have the franchising event coming up. So you don't have a desire to be, work in a business, but you have a little bit of capital and you want to be an entrepreneur. Like, how can I be an entrepreneur? And I think a lot of people that are in that space go into real estate, but I think franchising is also another opportunity to be had there as well. So those are the types of workshops that we have. And right now we're doing them live, but we're also in the process of digitizing them and making them available on demand as well. So that will be an exciting thing for this year as well. But yeah, that's what we're up to.
Great. Well, listen, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Last tips that you would like to share?
Yeah, I guess in the theme, of just like the being open-minded and not placing limits on the universal or specific. would be just be open-minded, and keep your ear out for new opportunity. I think, I don't know who originally said it, but I know Oprah's one of the people that repeated it, was saying that, luck was preparation meeting opportunity. And so like part of that is like, is this an opportunity here? Seeing or hearing something saying, is this an opportunity? Am I open-minded to go in this direction? So yeah, just keeping your ears open for those opportunities and not putting limits on those, and not saying, well, this is not, this isn't, a part of the plan. And just being open-minded to that, I think is important, and not going it alone. We've said that several times throughout the show already, but you're not alone. You don't have to do this alone. There are people who are in your corner and who want to support you and who are out here wanting to know where you are. So show up, show up loud and proud, and don't be afraid to ask them for support. So.
For sure. Thank you. Guys, I'm Joseph. This has been Don't Limit Guide. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your time. Don't go at it alone. We all
Yes.
need support in any and every area, professional, personal, whatever, right? Don't go at it alone.
Definitely.